All right, if you want to win the rest of the fantasy football season, if you want to win week 9, this is the channel and this is the episode to do it in. Today, we're talking about the optimal starts at each position. We're going to walk you through quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, and the optimal defenses to start at each position. Also going over the latest news notes. Everything in one episode right here, right now. And on the show, we got the great and powerful Jimmy Maverick. What's going on, Jim?
Hey, counselor. I'm doing good. Looking forward to another week of football.
I'm excited to get everybody ready. This is the show. We do it in a bite-sized information, in a fun episode. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. Week 9, whether you're winning or losing, you got to know who to start and sit. And this is the episode to do it. So let's dive right into it without further ado. We're going to start off with Breaking Brad here. Where's Breaking Brad? Where are you?
We now have breaking news.
There is some news and notes we do want to talk about here, Jim, that are important here and have a major fantasy impact, and it's going to ripple down for your opponents and yourself. The first thing I want to talk about is Stefon Diggs out for the season. Looked like a non-contact injury, ACL, Stefon Diggs, and people are like, oh, you can't predict injury. Now, I was not predicting injury on Stefon Diggs, but what I was saying is like, do not invest a third or fourth round pick in a wide receiver committee. Now, I'm getting ripped on this, Jim, because he was doing well up until the injury. But what I say is I go for youth, I go for minimal committee, and I also go for guys that aren't old, right? Like I said, youth is a big thing, right? Or washed up or switching teams or in a scenario where they won't get that volume. It just so happens he got injured. So what do you think of the Stefon Diggs injury? How does this impact the Texans now? Nico's going to come back and potentially crush it, right? I would think at this point.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Nico's the guy there. That was one that I was out on, and obviously Nico's been on the injured reserve, so he's missed a few weeks, so that hurts. But he was by far and away the best wide receiver in the NFL when he was healthy. So when he comes back, I think the Texans' offensive woes are going to clear up a bit. But I don't think he's coming back this week. It's like next week, isn't it?
Well, I think he missed the 1 week, and then there was an additional 4 weeks. So I think it's a couple weeks still left on the IR. I still consider Nico a bust. If you don't have your wide receiver for 5 weeks out of the season, in that meat part of the season where you need him the most, I think that's a write-off. Now you can say, well, he was doing well at the beginning of the season, he'd come back and win your league. But if you lose him for your second round pick for 5 weeks, I consider that a bust. And who knows how he comes back or if that injury is going to linger or this and that. But those are my thoughts on it. Yeah, props on Nico. He's doing well. But I would not, if I were to go back now, I still wouldn't draft him in the second round knowing he's going to miss 5 weeks. That is a huge chunk of time for your second round pick, Joe. I'm not doing it.
Well, clearly, yes. I mean, yeah. If I knew he was going to miss 4 weeks, I wouldn't have drafted him anyway. Five weeks, okay, yeah. But he is clearly the number one receiver on this team when he's healthy, and he's going to be on my radar for next year for sure.
Okay, other news and notes here I want to talk about here is Jordan Love. Apparently he has a groin injury, but it's not going to affect him. He doesn't have to be 100% to start is what I'm hearing from coaches. So Jordan Love should be good to go. Fire up.
That's relief for those of us that have lots of shares of Jaden Reed and Dowdle.
Dobbs,
not Dowdle, Dobbs, yes.
Okay. What else is there? Aaron Rodgers, he's complaining. I mean, they've been doing terrible. It's so weird. Like they're supposed to be a super powered team. You bring in Adams, you got the young dynamic Garrett Wilson, you got Breece Hall, you got the beast that is Braylon Allen. You got the two biggest beasts, strong workhorse running backs, and you got the veteran Aaron Rodgers. These guys are doing nothing. And now Aaron Rodgers is complaining. He's saying he's got a hamstring and knee going on. Now, he was a full participant on Tuesday. The Jets did not hold practice on The Jets did not hold practice Tuesday, so this is an estimation. That's what I'm hearing. But he should be playing, though. But it's just he's already nagging with injuries, and this team is making excuses, Jim.
The Jets are cursed. I mean, they're doing worse than they did under Zach Wilson last year. How is that possible? But it is. I feel bad for Jets fans. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry out there, the people who are fans.
A couple other things. Carolina, Deontay Johnson and a 6th round pick were acquired by the Ravens on Tuesday in exchange for a 5th round pick and cash. So Deontay Johnson off to the Ravens, which is good for the Ravens. They need a good wide receiver one. I mean, Flowers is good, but having another offensive weapon is definitely going to help this offense. And I think it's going to open things up for my guy, Derrick Henry. I've got a lot of stock in. I think this is a good move, and I think the Ravens are going to make a strong push and are big-time Super Bowl contenders before and now even more with the addition of Deontay Johnson. Do you like this trade, Jim?
Yeah, it certainly helps. I got to think, what was Carolina thinking acquiring Deontay Johnson? He played for 8 games. It's like, that's it. You're out of here.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the Carolina's just kind of shutting it down for the year. They're like, that's it. We'll come back next year, try to figure this out. But yeah, I mean, come on, Lamar Jackson has been absolutely outstanding this year. I know that's a guy you were out on.
Yeah.
But he has been playing top-notch football, top-notch fantasy player. I'm so happy I have him in many, many leagues. It's part of the reason why I'm doing as well as I am in best ball right now is because I have lots of shares of Lamar Jackson. I was getting him in like the 4th or 5th round in most of those drafts. What a bargain. He has been great, and he should be even better now. So just positives all around for the Ravens.
On the other side of the sphere here, whatever you want to call it, is Indianapolis Colts Anthony Richardson has been benched in favor of Joe Flacco. Now, he has been doing terrible. Anthony Richardson's QB rating was like 59 or something crazy like that last game, just throwing picks, just coming off the field, saying he needs a breath. And I went back and looked at that, man, and like, okay, I still think it's kind of, you should have cardio to stay on every play. I don't really see that. You don't see NFL players tapping their helmet coming out. But I give him credit for being honest, because I think it was another one, Mekhi Parsons or one of these other podcasts, I was reading a meme say, anytime the media asks you if you why you came off on a play, just lie. And I'm like, no, I appreciate Anthony Richardson actually being honest, saying, hey, I needed a breather. So I give him credit for that. I give credit where it's due. But he just hasn't been playing well. And to be benched for Flacco, man, that's rough. I don't know. I mean, Flacco's consistent. Like, he's a manager, but it's just, he's this late in his career, to be this young dynamic franchise guy, to be benched for Wacko Flacco. It hurts. That would sting, man. That would sting.
Hey, Flacco's straight up a better player, man. I
mean,
that's what you got. I mean, he's more explosive. He can push that ball down the field. And look what he did with the Browns last year. He took the Browns to the playoffs. He's not washed.
No.
But he is streaky and he is inconsistent. But, I mean, it's going to be good for Indianapolis offense is going to be better under Flacco than it is under Richardson. So, yeah, play him. So
you got to be wacko if you draft Joe Flacco. All right, I know I'm just joking. Tyrone Tracy concussion, told reporters that he had a concussion. So watch Tyrone Tracy. I know a lot of people picked him off waiver wire. Great waiver wire pickup if he's available, or if you want to start him, he's just outperforming Singletary or Suckletary. I would definitely consider starting him if he's playing for sure, but I don't know check the concussion, because these concussions can kind of linger. Other than that, man,
probably going to miss at least a week, probably 2. So
yeah, so check into that, monitor that, but he could be a league winner down the stretch here. Okay. All right, let's get right to the starts and sits at each position. If you guys are new to the channel, smash it, tap it, slap it, hit the thumbs up. Let's get to each and every position and give you guys all the optimal players at each position. So let's dive into starting off the quarterback situation here. Pat Mahomes, easiest matchup arguably on paper versus the Bucks. Jalen Hurts, Bo Nix, Derek Carr. Check the injury status on him. I don't even know what's going on with him. I haven't even looked at this. They're a disaster. Gardner Minshew, Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, coming off a 16-pointer last week. He's playing Atlanta. Good matchup. The Cowboys got to do something here. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Sam Darnold, and Aaron Rodgers are your top optimal starts. Now, the way you guys read this here, so if it's a green here, it's good to go. If it's red, for example, Josh Allen has the hardest matchup versus position versus Miami. Now,
yeah, but are you going to bench Josh Allen? I'm not going to bench. I'm not benching him.
No, and that's what I'm trying to say to people. Some people say, "Oh, well, Joe, you're giving me all the optimal starts, this and that, and Josh Allen's got the hardest matchup." It's up to you. Now, this helps you in a case where, okay, I've got Josh Allen on my team, for example, and let's say I've got Bo Nix on my team as my backup. Then you can say, well, Bo Nix has the second easiest matchup for his position. He had a 30-point game last week. I may want to consider him, but I'm still rolling with Josh Allen. I'm still rolling with Lamar Jackson, who has the 4th hardest matchup versus position versus Denver. I'm still rolling with Jared Goff, who's been pretty consistent the past 3 weeks, 16 points, 19 and 28, right? 7th hardest matchup versus position. I'm rolling with these guys, okay? Now, expected big dip here, or a little bit of a dip for Jameis Winston, coming back down to reality as the Chargers, coming off that monster week, 330-plus yards. But, Jim, again, when you're looking at this is kind of a point of reference to help you make starts and decisions, and also help you with your DFS if you play DFS. But Jim, are you starting Lamar? It's a no question. 7th hardest matchup for his position. You're still starting Lamar.
Of course, yeah. There's no way I'm benching Lamar. I actually do have an issue where this week I have either Baker Mayfield or Patrick Mahomes that I can start, and I'm really not sure who I want to start here.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield has just been outstanding this season. He has been just amazing with the touchdowns. I can't believe how many touchdowns he's getting, and the fact that he was still effective last week with both
Right.
Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out. That was just amazing. So I'm all in on this offense. I'm trying to acquire Kate Otten wherever I can. Not going well. People are rejecting my traits, but I'm like, who do you think I should start? Should I start Mahomes or should I start Mayfield this weekend? I'm not even sure. I love my Mahomes. Mahomes is my guy, but I'm thinking, I think I might want to start, Baker this weekend.
So let's take a look at that. Now, Baker Mayfield has a mid-range matchup here. It's in the yellow. He's coming off a 27, 32, and 30. Those are amazing numbers the past 3 weeks, okay? He is playing KC, and then you've got Pat Mahomes, who's playing Tampa Bay, who's got arguably an easier matchup, who has lower numbers. So I definitely see this dilemma. And when it comes to this point, you know who's got the easier matchup, which is Mahomes, and you got to make an executive decision. It has to become, at this point, it comes to gut feeling, or it just comes to looking at the past 3 weeks and looks at the matchup. So it's a combination of everything. But in this case, you can't go wrong with either one of them. I'd probably say that Mahomes has a safer floor, and based on the numbers that Baker has the higher ceiling. Now, again, with the injuries, right, factoring that in, Mahomes has leveled up. He's added DeAndre Hopkins. I would leave Mahomes here based on matchup and the current landscape. I would go Mahomes. But
and Kelsey also has been great. Since Rashee Rice went out with an injury, he's been fantastic. Last week he got 30 points in the tight end premium league. That's an unbelievable amount of points to get from a tight end. So yeah.
I'm wondering if it was just the tight end week. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the running back. Starts and sits. Optimal starts at the running back position, filtering here by the optimal starts at the running back position. Alvin Kamara, great matchup. We have Bijan, great matchup, second easiest versus position, coming off 3 hot weeks. People were ripping on me on Bijan. Look, it's 26, 26, 22. I am still seeing a little bit of Algier, which I don't like. We only had 3 points last week, not as much as he did, a couple weeks before. So Bijan, great matchup versus Dallas. He should be able to run right through them. Tony Pollard, great matchup, as you can see here. We've got the Bears running backs, and it's going to be Swift with a good matchup versus Arizona. Kyron Williams, who's been solid all season. And he was on our show, and we said, Kyron, should we draft you? He goes, yes. He's like, is an elephant heavy? And he's like, yes. And he's not lied. This man is the real deal.
Yeah, he's been outstanding.
James Cook, great matchup as well. We got Chuba Hubbard in a good matchup versus New Orleans, but I think the Carolina is a disaster at this point. Be cautious there. Devin off the chain, coming off a big week, had that big touchdown there. He's playing Buffalo, good matchup. Barkley, you got to start him, very consistent. Now, when you are looking at the Bengals running backs, a bit of a disaster here. Chase Brown, Zach Moss, they do have a good matchup. Probably lean a little bit Chase Brown, but he hasn't been the greatest. 14, 7, and 11 points last week. Not the greatest. Kenneth Walker, a must start as well, based on position versus the Rams. And Stevenson, he's kind of hit or miss, but had a good week last week, has a fairly decent matchup. Those are your optimal starts. And then the rougher matchups, just give you a quick overview here. Some names here. Rashad White, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs. I mean, you still got to start Jacobs coming off a 29-point week. Take Bigsby's a tougher matchup, 4th hardest. Breece Hall has a tough matchup. Rico Dowdle, J.K. Dobbins, a couple other guys. And Derrick Henry, you still got to start him, but he has the 11th hardest matchup versus position. Man, that's a lot to talk about. Any notes here, Jim, off what I said here on the running backs that we got to be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, the only ones I'd really be concerned about here are Breece Hall and Jonathan Taylor, who both have tough matchups, and they're both on struggling offenses.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you have them, you're going to start them, right? I mean, there's no way you can bench either of those guys when they're healthy, but still, it's important to have proper idea that maybe it's not going to be a big week for them, and you just got to be prepared for that, and I guess you just got to roll with the bad matchups from time to time. It happens, right?
All right, I'm going to give you.
J.K. Dobbins also has a tough matchup this weekend against Cleveland. Yeah,
he does. But some of the guys you still have to start, like Henry, Barkley. No matter what matchup, you got to look at consistency. That really dominates over any other thought process in your mind. Your mind has got to be thinking, okay, this guy's consistent, this guy's talented. It doesn't matter, regardless of the match. I got to start, especially in season long where it's so thin and trim at the running back position where you just got to start your starters for the most part, right? Unless they're crap in the bed or completely inconsistent. Like a guy like Stevenson, if you got a better option, probably do that, right? So there's certain players that have question marks. Let's get to the wide receivers here. Before I do, guys, smash it, tap it, hit the thumbs up, and drop. If you have a question, drop it below. We'll try to get to as many as we possibly can. And of course, this is very, very important. Make sure you guys head over to mybookie.ag. This is a site I use, a site I trust for all my sports bets. Mybookie.ag. The code you want to use, FFC, they will double your first deposit. So if you put 100 in, you get 100 back. If you put 200, you get 200. It's like playing with house money. Guys, it's amazing. Mybookie.ag. The code you want to use is FFC to go enhance your game watching experience. Go there right now, create an account. And I've also created the Counselor's Edge, a place where I give you guys my picks straight up against the spread, all that stuff delivered to you on a silver platter, including player props, my 5 prop locks of the week based on player stats. The Counselor's Edge, I've linked it below, but MyBookie is the site you want to head on over. Go create an account right now. All right, let's talk. Let's keep going here. Let's go to the wide receivers, Jim. Let's dive right into the wide receivers. Where's my filter here? Let's go. Let's go. All right, we'll go by easy matchups. And the guys that have it easy, Cortland Sutton. Isn't this crazy though, Jim? A 0-pointer 2 weeks ago to 21 points. Cortland Sutton. Isn't that annoying?
Listen, the other annoying thing is that 2 weeks ago I did start Cortland Sutton on that week. So that was great. I was so happy.
All
And I benched, and the worst part is I benched Calvin Ridley for him. And Ridley, I don't know. It's just like I've got some real problems with my wide receivers this year. These zero burgers suck.
Isn't that messed up? If you were to go 2 weeks ago, you started Ridley, right? Who put up a 0? Or sorry, no, Ridley put up. Actually, they both did bad 2 weeks. Never mind. Forget that. They both did bad 2 weeks ago. Done a bunch of donuts, and they both crushed it the week after. That's so crazy. I thought they overlapped. No. Okay, so yeah, so Sutton had a good week, but he's got a good matchup again this week. Josh Downs. Now, this is the crazy thing. I want to talk about this. Josh Downs, wide receiver 1. Now,
hey, with Flacco being his quarterback, hell yeah. You go with that.
But what a waste. I mean, I never thought Pittman was that great anyway. I avoid him just for the fact that he's had years to wow me. I'm not wowed. But look at this, man. Like, imagine he's drafted Pittman in round 3 and Josh Downs gets 25 points. I would be bitter if I was a Pittman owner right now. Straight out bitter. I'd be bitter angry, Jim. Very annoying. But it's going to be different now with Flacco. Maybe Pierce gets some action. Who knows? It's wide receiver committees everywhere. They keep you on your toes. A.J. Brown, consistent. We had Devontae Smith having a big catch last week for a touchdown. Good matchups. You got to start Brown, Smith, startable. Romeo Dobbs, we talked about Jordan Love earlier.
Yeah, if Love's playing, you can play Dobbs and you can play Reed is Christian Watson healthy? I haven't heard much about him.
He sucks. It's that simple. He's just not that good. I think he missed that 1 week or something. He's back. So it looks like Dobbs and Reeds are the main guys there, and the tight end gets some work as well. Ladd McConkey had his coming out party last week. He's out. He's the wide receiver 1. This is official now, Jim.
He's looking good, man. I'm excited at what he's doing on the field there. He's just got he's great with those contested catches. He looks really good. So that's good to see.
So guess who was the donkey last week, Jim? Anyone who didn't have Ladd McConkey was the donkey last week. I mean,
and I have so much Ladd McConkey in my best ball leagues. He was like one of my most drafted wide receivers. So I'm very happy to see that.
If you played against Ladd McConkey, you were definitely a donkey last week. I warned you. We talked about this in the offseason. Garrett Wilson, great matchup. Him and Adams. Adams has been lackluster to say the least. He sucks. Just not getting the volume. Again, big part of that is that offense. They just can't get it going. Brian Thomas Jr., watch out. He is dealing with a rib thing. Now, he's saying he's fine. I heard he's going to miss time. Monitor that. I'll keep you guys up to date on that here on the channel as we'll do another show coming up with the latest news and notes. I also release a reel with all the latest news and notes on all my social platforms. So turn on that bell so you don't want to miss that reel before game time. Xavier Worthy, good matchup here. Malik Neighbors, good matchup. He's been having some drop issues. I don't know if that's going to continue. Something to monitor there with Malik Neighbors, Jim. Should we be concerned or nah? I wouldn't be concerned.
I'm not concerned. I think he's doing great as a rookie, but you got to expect this sort of inconsistency, especially when you got a terrible quarterback throwing you balls. So, that's part of the problem too. So
Xavier Legette takes a step up. He's a must start this week in a great matchup. Xavier Legette, now with him, he's the one now. I mean, they've got no one else there, but he's going to see the top corner. How he's going to handle that now is going to be interesting because we see how Keon Coleman handled it. It wasn't very good. And as soon as Amari Cooper came in, Keon Coleman is now emerging because he's not seeing the top corner. Cooper is drawing that in and opening things up. And I'm wondering if Legette's, I mean, just by sheer volume, I think Legette is going to thrive, but we'll see how that goes with Xavier.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not really excited about Xavier. I mean, that whole offense is just god awful, but they'll be passing the ball a lot and he should be the top target. So he should do something.
Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome. It's got the three-headed monster situation. Again, 5 points. Like, look how bad Moore is doing. 6 points, 5 points the past 2 weeks. 6 points for Keenan Allen last week and 8 points for Rome. And all these guys were drafted very high, similar to the Diggs, Nico, Dell type situation. Look at the disaster. And then you could have just got Here's the thing. You could have just got Lad McConkey later. Like, you could have got him in round 7 and 9 and avoid this cluster mess. And it is looking like a cluster mess in those rounds, plagued with injury, plagued with dilution, exactly how we called it. Why was nobody else talking about this? They were just telling you, go ahead, draft Romo Tuesday, round 6, 7, or 5, or whatever it was. Go ahead, draft Diggs round 3. Just don't think about the fact that he's in a three-headed monster. Go ahead, draft Keenan Allen and DJ Moore.
Not just a three-headed monster, but a three-headed monster with a rookie quarterback. I mean, that was the big thing is it's like, that's why you don't want anything to do with them. But hopefully, next year, probably Keenan Allen's going to move on. And then you got Romo Dunze and DJ Moore. I'd be happy to throw my hat in on one of those guys if it's just the two of them. I think, Romo Dunze certainly offers some upside for year 2. So
Chris Olave, decent matchup here, and that's CeeDee Lamb, decent matchup as well. 12th easiest. Now, again, quick guys, some rough matchups just off the note here. Just note these guys, okay? Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, tougher matchup versus position, Zay Flowers. So if you decided, am I Keon Coleman or am I going this guy? Now you know Keon's got a tougher matchup, right? Tyreek Hill, tough matchup. He's been abysmal this year. 13 points last week with Tua back. So they should only get better. He's trending upwards, right? But he doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna bench Tyreek if Tua's playing. So yeah,
no, definitely not. Demario Douglas, tough matchup here. Just a couple other guys. Jerry Jeudy, Cleveland. They've got a tougher matchup. Take Dell. Everyone's knowing you got to still start Take Dell based on scenario. He's still going to get some work, even though Diggs is gone. John Mechie.
With Diggs on, I'd be all in on starting Tank Dell. He's going to get the majority of the volume. He's going to get the most volume of any receiver. So take advantage of that. I think. Also, the tight end is going to get a bump too for Houston, because of the injury to Diggs. So consider that also. Try to get that. Try to get Dalton Schultz as well. So
similar to what happened in Cade Otton with those receivers going down, they lean on those reliable targets. The tight ends come through. Good point. Jamar Chase, tougher matchup just to note here, and Marvin Harrison had a good week last week. Tougher matchup. Just some notes here at the wide receiver position. Remember, drop your starts and sits questions below. We'll try to get to as many as we possibly can. Let's move on here. We're going to go to the tight end position. Now, when we're looking at the tight ends, I don't care if I sound like a broken record. Start your most consistent tight end. Now, last week, a lot of these tight ends were inflated because it was tight end week. Expect a bit of a decline on some of these guys, maybe because there was a focal point of that week. Like quarterbacks, like, yeah, we're going to throw to tight ends. Who knows? But a lot of tight ends did well last week. But guys that have easy matchups, Noah Fant, Cade Otton, man, coming off that hot week, you got to start him, man, versus KC. Who else is here? Kelsey's a must start. Goddard, what do you have? 0? What do you have? 9? What do you have? 0 points last week? What's going on with Goddard? Oh, he's been banged up. I haven't been following the.
Yeah, he's been injured. So if he comes back.
A good matchup. They got a good matchup there. The Eagles, Hawkinson, and any tight end from Minnesota. Good matchup, but Hawkinson obviously a little banged up, but he had 10 points last week. There's a heart designation. Check that out. What else do we got here? Sam Laporta. Now,
Sam Laporta, I would definitely start this week because, Jameson Williams is still out. Yeah. He was suspended for 2 games. So definitely Sam Laporta this week for sure.
Kyle Pitts must start as well. Great matchup. And Jake Ferguson is a must start every single week, but he didn't have the best 2 weeks last week. But if I get 10 points out of him, I'm happy. And Gesicki, also a decent start. Guys,
here's another one, though. TJ Hawkinson looks like he's probably going to start this week. Playing against Indianapolis has a really nice matchup. I would be inclined to play him for sure.
Good matchup. Tougher matchup, Evan Ingram. Zach Ertz coming off a decent week of 15 points. Conklin, tougher matchup versus position. Kincaid, tougher matchup versus position versus Miami. Hunter Henry, tougher matchup versus Tennessee. And Will Dissly coming off a decent week, 10 points last week. Tougher matchup, and same with Njoku. So those are some of the tougher matchups. You go back, rewind, take a look, and compare the good versus bad matchups.
Yeah, and, here's a couple more names also. Dalton Schultz does have a tough matchup against the Jets. And Zach Ertz, who has been doing stuff. He's been getting points, man. He also has a tough matchup against the Giants. So those are guys that I would probably would not start. Knowing that. I know I just said, oh, maybe you could start Schultz this week, but maybe not. But again, who else is going to catch the ball on Houston right now? I think he's kind of the next guy up, with just Tank Dell being ahead of him. So
absolutely. All right, let's go to the defenses here. The optimal defenses, Jim, if you want to make some recommendations, but just based on the algorithm, Patriots, Bengals versus Vegas. I'm starting this defense in a bunch of leagues, but they had -4 last week. Yikes. But good matchup. Vegas is a disaster. Commanders could be a good matchup versus the Giants. I like the Chargers versus Cleveland, but as long as Cleveland stays neutral. I mean, this is based on the year with Deshaun Watson and that mess. Now with Winston and, they could put up some points against the Chargers, so just be cautious there. Panthers versus the Saints could be a decent matchup. They are at home, and the Saints are banged up. And who else here? Bills versus Miami. But again, this is kind of factoring in without Tua, right? So you just got to be aware, guys. Sometimes you got to use common sense. Look for the best matchup based on kind of what you've seen. But these are some options. I don't mind Indy versus Minnesota, but who knows, right? Like Falcons versus Dallas could be good, but Dallas could put up points too, right? So Jim, what's the best defense? I like Cincy here.
Well, I kind of like New Orleans is playing Carolina. So yeah, absolutely play that. And by the way, you were talking earlier about Xavier Legette. I would not start wide receiver 1 against New Orleans because they do shut down the wide receiver 1. Yeah. So, but there should be lots of opportunities there for turnovers and sacks. Also, Tennessee's playing New England at home. So that I think was probably a pretty good streaming defense if you want to go that route. Yeah. And let's see, who else am I looking at? Chargers are playing Cleveland. I think that's maybe not as much with Winston being quarterback there now. But
that's what I was saying.
Still, yeah. But there are some options, and there's always good matchups with the defenses. That's why I just stream them. You just find a good matchup and you play that defense. So
I'm very fortunate to have the Steelers defense this year. Now, what I try to do is I try to get a top 10 defense because in the leagues that we're in, we have a lot of bench spots. So I'll be able to acquire maybe 1-2 top defenses and just kind of switch back and forth based on matchup. That's worked for me every single year. So again, a lot of people don't have the bench space to do that. So I'm able
to I mean, if you only have like 6 bench slots, do not spend an extra bench slot on a second defense. Exactly. That's a waste of time. But I mean, but for me, I'm like, okay, who's got good matchups this week? Okay, I'll put in bids on this defense, and this defense, and I get one, and it's fine,
Absolutely.
It generally works, because it's easy, on any given week, there's only maybe 12 to 14 defenses that are off the board that are being held by other teams. So that means there's like 20, there's like 24 defenses available on just about every week. And, it makes it easy to find good matchups, even if they're not a great defense. If you're playing against a really crappy quarterback or a really bad offense, there's points there. You're going to get points. So, that's what I go for.
Absolutely. All right, guys, make sure you guys smash it, tap it, slap it, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you guys turn on the bell. And that's pretty much for the show. Starts and Sits Fantasy Football Week 9 is here. The full preparation here. Drop your questions below. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Counselor.
We'll talk soon, guys. Have yourself an outstanding day. Week 9 is upon us. Let's get it. Line up.